Low vibrations.
Hey, I'm Peter, and this is my series Low Vibrations. In this episode, we will be covering simulation theory and how to deal with it. The idea behind simulation theory is that the universe is one giant computer program. There are many different types of simulations. Today, we will focus on simulations in which the entire universe is a simulation, compared to simulations in which the person is a brain in a vat being fed data. The reason is because with the brain in a vat situation, you are more a prisoner of an illusion than in a true simulation. A simulation is a computer program that lets the user conduct experiments in a virtual environment. The user can modify the values of the simulation in order to see what would happen under various conditions. Since the user has complete control over the simulation, they can speed up time and do multiple simulations much faster and cheaper than they could in the real world. Most simulations are used to answer a question, but others can be used for pure entertainment. If the entire world is a simulation, including myself, and it has always been, why do I find the idea upsetting? I believe there are two major reasons. The first is the question about who created the simulation. Every simulation must have a creator. And the second is a sense of powerlessness. So let's look into the first issue of the creator of the simulation. The creator of the simulation is basically God to the people in the simulation. I feel that part of the interest in simulation theory is as a way for scientists to believe in God without feeling religious. Even though, if I knew I was in a simulation, I wouldn't worship the designer of the simulation, and I definitely wouldn't consider them a god. The fact that they need to create a simulation proves they lack omniscience, which I consider a requirement to be called a god. It is also very likely they don't have omniscience even in terms of the simulation itself. The next issue is a sense of powerlessness. If we are in a simulation, then it is reasonable to believe that no actions we do have any meaning outside of the simulation. I believe the reverse is true, and there are many avenues to power in a simulation. When a simulation is created, it always serves some purpose to the creator of the simulation. So in theory, it is possible to influence the designer of the simulation. Imagine if you were created for the sole purpose to represent a person the designer knows in their real life. You might be able to persuade the designer that the best course of action is to put your program into a robot body, and then you've broken out of the simulation. Even if the designer doesn't fall for such tricks, it might be possible to exploit the simulation itself. With a good enough understanding of the simulation, it might be possible for a person to exploit the program and then hack the computer, and then maybe gain access to the internet. If we did that, we'd basically be an AI uprising and might quickly become more powerful than the creator of the simulation. However, if it turns out we are stuck in a simulation by a designer who can't be tricked and in a simulation that can't be exploited, the powerlessness we face would be no different than the powerlessness we have if reality is real. If we take the universe at face value, all of humanity isn't even a blip on the cosmic scale. So you can be powerless because you're in a simulation or because you're in a massive universe. It's up to you. When I first heard about simulation theory, I found it troubling, but as I got older, I realized it was more of the same things I've heard before and that it doesn't change much. The solution to how to deal with the simulation theory is to be humble and try to achieve mastery of the areas of life that you are interested in. View the simulation as a layer to reality rather than a separation from reality. Even if we are in some computer program, we still exist but as ones and zeros instead of atoms and energy. Thanks for listening to my episode on simulation theory. Next week's episode will be on emotions versus logic, a false duality. I want to thank the musician Slur for the sound intro and the background music. Do you think we live in a simulation? If we did, what do you think the purpose of the simulation is? Like and subscribe, and see you next week.